Hello boys, I am Shubroto Krishna Kundu to take your chemistry class. Today I am taking class of chapter 7 name chemical reaction. Hope all of you completed this chapter in class 9. Now I am going to give a clear concept on it. Get start our class. All of you uh, I hope all of you know me. I take the class in English version 10a. Okay, get started. The name of the chapter chemical reaction. First, we have to uh, know something about chemical reaction. We know properties, characteristics, and changes of substance are the knowledge discussed in chemistry. The elements in nature are constantly changing, transforming to different state is called physical change, while changing into new element with new properties are called chemical change. This change occur due to certain physical and chemical reaction. All of you know the physical and chemical reaction. This chapter will discuss elaborately on this kind of reaction rate and chemical equilibrium. Okay, then in this chapter we see something about physical and chemical properties, che- uh, chemical reaction analysis change of substance, different types of reaction like as uh, synthesis reaction, isomerization reaction, combustion reaction, oxidation, reduction reaction, reversible reaction, and we will know the chemical properties of substance. So we going to the next slide where we can know something new from this class. Okay. Okay, changes of matter. All of you know changes of matter can be done by physical or chemical change. In physical change, the chemical bonding is not break, just changes into one state to another state. That's why we know the chemical or the changes of matter are two types: physical change and chemical change. In physical change, only solid can transform into liquid and liquid can transform into gas, and in chemical change the solid or liquid transformed into another state of or another molecule or another substance where the properties is totally different from the reactant. Okay, I think all of you can understand these changes. Okay, then physical change. From the definition, we can say that changes of state are physical change in matter. They are reversible, that cannot involve change in matter, chemical makeup, or chemical properties. Common changes of state including melting, freezing, sublimation, deposition, condensation, and vaporization. These all of are the physical changes. I write a example of physical change, which is solid H2O. We all of you know it's an ice. When we heat, then it will go to liquid water, and again when we heat it, it will go to vapor of water. Here we see a picture or a photo that physical changes occur. Solid ice, when melting, it will produce liquid water, and when it is evaporation or evaporized, then it will produce gases. On the other hand, if gases is condensed, it will produce liquid water, and when the liquid is freezing or freezes, then it will produce solid. Okay, then chemical changes. The chemical changes results of a chemical reaction, while physical changes is when matter changes from forms but not the chemical identity. Example of chemical changes are burning, cooking, rusting, and rotting. And the physical changes examples are boiling, melting, freezing, and shredding. Here we see a uh, example of chemical changes. Iron, when it will react with oxygen and water, it will produce iron oxide. It's a rust, and all of you known about the rust. It's a common problem in our daily life. Okay, so move on for the next slide. uh, all of you can understand which I am discussing. Okay, and the another example is hydrogen plus water. It will produce hydrogen plus oxygen, it will produce water. It's a chemical reaction where hydrogen, two molecule or one molecule of hydrogen react with one molecule of oxygen, and it will produce water. For the balancing, we will see that two molecule react with one molecule oxygen, two molecule hydrogen react with one molecule oxygen, and produce two molecule of water. Some other example of chemical changes: when sulfur trioxide react with water, it will produce sulfuric acid, and solid iron react with sulfur solid, it will produce iron sulfide. Another example is nitrogen plus hydrogen. All of you know the production of ammonia. Nitrogen, when nitrogen react with three molecule of hydrogen, it will produce two molecule of ammonia. Another example for a chemical change is ammonia react with HCl. It will produce ammonium chloride. Okay, so move on for the next slide. Here we see about reversible and irreversible reaction. When the reaction is occurred in two ways, reactant produce product and products react to produce reactant, it is called reversible reaction. And if the reaction is in one way, then it is called irreversible reaction. Here we see reversible reaction where the reactant and product react together to give a reactant back. A and B can react to form C and D. In the reverse reaction, C and D can react to form A and B. It's a reversible reaction. Okay. In the irreversible reaction, the reactant react to form the product which cannot be reverted back into the reactant. The common example of irreversible reaction is combustion reaction. So move on for the next slide. Here we see a reversible reaction. Dinitrogen tetroxide can produce nitrogen dioxide. On the other hand, nitrogen dioxide can produce dinitrogen tetroxide. Here, the reversible reaction where two molecules of nitrogen dioxide will produce dinitrogen tetroxide. It's a clear example of reversible reaction. Some irreversible reaction examples are given below. When sodium react with water, it will produce sodium hydroxide and hydrogen. All of you know that hydrogen, when hydrogen is produced, it will be in gaseous form and it will come out from the reaction system or reaction pan. Then in the reaction pan only sodium hydroxide is there. For that reason, this reaction is irreversible reaction. When HCl react with water, it will produce hydronium ion and chloride ion. All of the ions are in aqueous form. That's why it cannot be react one another to produce HCl and water. Uh, the third reaction is magnesium plus oxygen will produce magnesium oxide. It's another example of irreversible reaction. When chlorine react with hydroxide ion, it will produce chlorate and chloride ion with water. For the next slide, we'll discuss about heat changes and reaction. We know that all of the reaction are two types. One is exothermic and the another is endothermic. In exothermic reaction, heat will produce, and in the endothermic reaction, heat is absorbed. Okay. So the definition of exothermic and endothermic. An exothermic reaction is a chemical reaction that releases energy through light or heat. It is the opposite of endothermic reaction. Chemical equation reactant, it will produce product plus energy, that is called exothermic reaction. And in the endothermic reaction, endothermic process is a process where it requires to absorb energy from its surroundings, usually in the form of heat, to continue the reaction. It may be chemical process such as dissolving ammonium nitrate in water, or physical process such as melting of ice cube. All of you know when melting of ice cube, it absorbs heat. Here a example of exothermic and endothermic reaction. Endothermic, melting of ice. Exothermic, burning of fuel. Okay. Redox reaction. Here we talk about the oxidation and reduction reaction. In that sense, oxidation and reduction reaction is called redox reaction. In this reaction, it is a type of chemical reaction where involves transfer of electron between two species. An oxidation reduction reaction is the chemical reaction in which oxidation number of molecule, atom and ion changes by gaining or losing of electron. When electron is losing, it is called oxidation reaction, and electron is gaining, it is called reduction reaction. So move on to the next slide. Oxidation and reduction reaction. Oxidation is the loss of electrons during reaction by molecule, atom or ion. Oxidation occurs when the oxidation state of molecule, atom or ion is increased. The opposite process is called reduction, which occurs when there is a gain of electron or the oxidation state of an atom, molecule or ion is decreased.